Okay, good morning, councillors, officers, members of the public and press. Welcome to this meeting of the Neighbourhood Services Committee. This meeting is a remote meeting being live streamed on the website and recorded. I will now hand over to Denise Wimperney of the Democratic Services team.
Thank you, Chair. We'll begin the meeting by way of a roll call of all those in attendance remotely. And may I request members to confirm they have a paper copy of the agenda and can both hear and see councillors in the meeting. I will now begin the roll call. Councillor Stephen Akers-Belcher has submitted apologies with Councillor Tony Richardson as a substitute. Councillor Cassidy?
Yes, I'm here and I have all the paperwork.
Thank you. Councillor Howson?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear everybody, see everybody, and I have the paperwork.
Thank you. Councillor James?
Good morning. I believe I have all the paperwork and I can see and hear.
Thank you. Councillor Little?
I'm here, I can see and I've got all the paperwork.
Thank you. Councillor Prince? Councillor Prince? We'll come back to Councillor Prince because I do believe Councillor Prince.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes, I can see everything and hear everything and I've got papers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prince. And Councillor Tennant.
Yes, I'm here and I've got all the paperwork.
Can I now ask if there are any members joining the meeting I have not called?
Councillor Young.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Any others?
Chair, Carl Richardson. I'd like to maybe, well, I want to look at the meeting and listen to the meeting, but I may want to come in on the minutes.
Thanks, thank you.
Okay.
That now
Right, well,
concludes the roll call, Chair. Thank you.
thank you very much, Denise. We're now moving on to item 1, the apologies for absence. Do you have any apologies?
Just the apologies I've mentioned, Chair, from Councillor Stephen Akers-Belcher. Are there any other apologies from? No, I think that's it. That's the only apology. Thanks.
Okay, moving on to item 2, any declarations of interest by members? No. Okay. Item 3, the minutes of the last meeting, minutes to be received. Any points to be raised on the minutes? No. Okay. And item 4, there are no items in budget policy framework, so we move to 5, key decisions. 5.1.
Excuse me, Chair, there is somebody does have the hand up, but I wanted to speak on the minutes, and I did say that before the meeting.
I didn't see your hand. I do apologise.
Sorry, I thought elected somebody on the committee was going to come in first. They did have the hand up. In fact, I think 2 people got their hands up.
Okay. Do you want to say anything, Carl?
Well, I'll let the elected members speak first if they want to speak on the minutes.
Okay. Councillor Howson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to raise a point about the minutes, having gone over part 5. Just looking at these minutes, there's been references to focus groups, which fed into this decision making, and I understand that the focus group minutes were never endorsed and were only available last week, and I've been told there are a lot of gaps in the minutes, so it seems to me that this needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, we also have Councillor James. Marjorie?
Thank you, Chair, but I don't want to raise anything about the minutes. I wanted to raise a question under 4.1.
Right, okay, well, we'll deal with the minutes first and we'll come back to you at 4.1. Councillor Howson had a question. Can I hand over to Tony Henson?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Is it with regards to the comment from Councillor Howson? So sorry, Councillor Howson, what was the question, please, with regards to the query on the minutes? in the
Right, I
report.
understand that there was a focus group held, and I understand that those minutes were never endorsed, and it is said that there are a lot of gaps in those minutes, and they were only produced last week. So it seems to me that this is something that needs to be addressed.
Okay, with regards to the report that was brought to the last meeting, that was from Legal Services. So Neil Wilson, as our Assistant Chief Solicitor, brought that report, and it was more around the process attached to what had previously been agreed at the Neighbourhoods Committee meeting in March. It was not to do with the minutes of the focus group meeting. I don't know if Neil wishes to come in and add to that.
Sorry, Councillor, I'm trying to find where the reference to the focus group minutes is, or the relevance to this. Sorry, Councillor Richardson has his hand up.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the minutes of the last meeting and can't find reference to the focus group minutes, and I'm just struggling to work out the relevance to these minutes. Sorry.
Councillor Howson?
Sure.
Yeah, my understanding is, and I'm new to Neighbourhood Services, that all of the recommendations were said to have gone through a focus group, that there'd been a full consultation, that there was agreement, and there seems to me to be gaps in this. And we're having repeated queries about this. People have got a lot of concern, so I think this needs to be looked at.
Councillor Howson, just like Neil Wilson has pointed out, asked a question. Your question is not relating to do with anything to do with point 5 of the minutes of the last meeting. So I'm struggling to understand where you're coming from on this. Tony?
Chair, could I?
No. Yes, Carl. You wanted
yeah,
to
just to. I think it's on the basis that we're talking about the regulations and changing the regulations, and it's on that basis that I'm raising a particular issue. And I think Councillor Howson is doing the same thing. It's because of that and what's happened at the full council. We ended up with a situation where the full council, and I was one of them, admittedly, but it was on the basis of the information that we received at the full council that we've ended up with a situation where we seem to be taking a sledgehammer to smash a nut. It has caused great consternation throughout the allotment fraternity. They're up in arms over it. Now, I think there should be some kind of a compromise along the way on this, and it's up to us to do it. Now, as Councillor Halson's pointed out, there have been discussions and there's been focus groups, but minutes have not been agreed, and certainly by the allotment holders, as I understand it. But there are a number of people in my ward who are very concerned about what's going on, and they think that the council is being a bit heavy-handed. Is there any way we can sort of come back to this and find some way of having some kind of a compromise, and especially to try and bring the vast majority of the allotment holders on board on this?
Okay, I'll hand over to Tony Hanson first, and I'll bring other councillors in.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I would point out that, as I said, the meeting was held with a focus group in December last year, and we went through all of the points, and the head of the Chief Solicitor was also present at that meeting where the focus group was discussed in terms of the rule changes that were proposed. The majority of the group was supportive of those changes, and they went through the consultation process there. The report was also presented to Neighbourhood Services Committee in March and was agreed there, and it was then presented to Council only recently and was agreed there. In terms of that, as far as I can see, the due process has been followed. We can happily take things back to allotment focus group for further discussion, but in terms of that, the process in terms of everything has been agreed.
Yes, I think what Tony Hanson's pointed out is that we have had a full and frank discussion with all stakeholders over the course of the last year or so. As pointed out, we have spoken with the allotment focus group. We have had discussion at Neighbourhood Services Committee, and it was supported by a majority, and it went to full council with all information put forward, and it was passed at full council. you know, I mean, I will take in a question from Councillor Tony Richardson. Tony, you're on mute.
All the paperwork was not put to the people. That's the first issue. The focus group meeting was held on the 10th of March. Normally, we get the paperwork on the focus group meeting, the papers, by 21 days. We had to wait 6 months for this paperwork, right? At that 10th of March, you had Jim Wilson, myself, Dave Pounder, Martin Joyce, Bob Snowden, Peter Nicholson, Steve Robertson, John Swift, Ian Ferguson, Robert Marshall and Richard Burton. That's 11 people. So Tony, out of 11, 7 disagreed. So how did it get passed? On the minutes, which was Hayley was there, she's not even down on the minutes, so the minutes are not true. Tony Hansen said that the most members were supportive of the change, apart from JS, which is John Swift, IF, Even Ferguson, and TR, myself. That is untrue. 7 out of 11 weren't agreed with it. Then Matthew Pearce has put a paperwork out. The allotment focus group were consulted on a number of occasions regarding the changes and agreements reached, in particular wording the proposed changing. The constitution was fed back to councillors as part of the decision. No, it was not. Nothing was passed at the focus group meeting. We said we'll leave it till the next meeting. And I even asked for it, because John Tennant, yourself, said it was going to the 13th to neighbourhoods. And I asked for that to be deferred. And it's there in the minutes of the focus group asking for it to be deferred. No, what it is, covert's happened. And the officers upstairs have decided again without the members. And that's what it's all about. You're snowballing things through without us getting there and having to sit down and talking about it. And it's happening every time now. And this is bang out of order. And the paperwork say, you tell me this, why you did that for 6 months? Why? Can anybody explain to me why that hasn't come out? It's out in 21 days. Can you explain that, Tony?
Councillor Richardson, thank you very much for your points. The minutes that you're referring to, is that the December meeting of last year?
No, it is not. March.
Okay. Because if we go back to what Tony Hansen just explained before, it was the December meeting last year that the allotments.
I was in the December meeting, and it wasn't a December meeting. Nothing has been agreed, and you are saying it's been agreed, and it has not been agreed.
Well, I was there in the December meeting, and my feeling was that a lot of the people present did not have much to be concerned about.
There's 7 out of 11. The last meeting was the 10th of March. It was 7 out of 11. You stopped all the meetings over COVID.
Yeah,
that was the last meeting. Nothing agreed.
But the thing is, though, Tony, we're talking about the December meeting of last year. That's when the rule improvement was discussed.
The rule come in about four focus group meetings. That's when you first decided it. And we've had the argument every time over the group. The December meeting was down in Bearbank Street, and it wasn't agreed on there neither. And it wasn't true minutes. Same as in there, the minutes aren't true. And it was said the last time the minutes aren't true, and they're not true again.
Okay, so I'll hand over to Tony Hansen.
Chair, I think Neil wants to come in.
Yes, Neil, I'll hand over to Neil.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sorry, I'm just looking at the minutes that are under discussion now, and the last time, or the report that I brought, was to do with the dispute resolution process rather than the regulations. I'm not sure what the issue is with these particular minutes. I appreciate the background issue, but that's separate to this point in consideration from my perspective.
Thank you, Neil. You're right. It's the minutes are not to do with the points being raised. It is to do with the legal information that was given at the last meeting. So I'm afraid that it's not relating to the minutes. So unfortunately, it's just not relating to the minutes. So I think it's fair that we move on to point 4. That Marjorie, you wanted to raise a point on point 4. Marjorie?
Sorry, Chair. Under the item 4.1 on the agenda, which is the policy and the budget and policy framework, it says no items. Now, I don't entirely accept that, because the situation that we've actually arrived at is that the whole of the budget is being dealt with by finance and policy. Now, that is actually against our constitution. Our constitution is that each of the committees, because they are policy committees, actually sees the part of the budget that refers to their own responsibilities. Now, if we were still in lockdown, I would accept it because there would be no alternative. But I don't accept that everything has been put onto finance and policy when clearly meetings are being held of committees, but the agendas are just absolutely stripped of any decision making. And I for one, am getting a little bit sick of not getting the information in a timely fashion and being not allowed to actually make the decisions for which I am elected to this committee to make. And I don't accept, Chair, that there is nothing under budget and policy framework. It's absolutely atrocious. We will be setting a budget for Hartlepool Borough Council that has to be in place legally within 3 months from now. And we are not yet getting any information. And our constitution may as well just get thrown out the window, because it seems to me that COVID is being used to hide lots and lots of information from members. We are not only in the dark, we're not even in the room. So I'm sorry, but I don't accept that there are no items in the budget and policy framework.
Okay, thank you, Councillor James. I'm a little bit flabbergasted that you said what you said, because actually we've had neighbourhood services in July, we've had one in March, and we're having one right now at the request of yourself and full council. We want to have neighbourhood services meetings, and we're having one right now. We were able to see all the paperwork right in front of you. It says everything that you need to know, and we are able to sit here and make decisions.
Right. Well, can I just say, Chair, if we want to play this game,
Marjorie, with all due respect, I haven't finished what I'd said.
Right. Well, can I come back when you have?
No. You actually had a request at Neighbourhood Services, I believe, back in March, that we wanted an extension to a complaints procedure with regard to the allotments. That was taken forward. That was your idea, and we voted for that. And then it was given legal advice, which is clearly in the minutes, and that legal advice was supported by this committee. So I completely refute your suggestion that councillors are not able to make decisions. You have, and that is one clear example of it. But I will let you back in if you want to say something. Are you on mute?
Why are we not receiving information on the budget and policy framework of Hartlepool Borough Council? Why are we not being told what the financial situation is, and why are we not being allowed to participate as policy committee members in the decision making of our committee as far as the policy and framework arrangements are?
I mean, with regard to finance and budget, that's largely to do with. Hello? Somebody wanted to speak there. No? Sorry, I had a bit of feedback there. Yeah, with regard to policy and budgets, it's largely to do with finance and policy. And if you're on that committee, you get that information. But that's always been the case.
No, that's not true, Chair. That's not true. The financial information for each policy committee actually goes to the policy committees prior to a report being taken through finance and policy and ultimately being on the floor of council to agree a budget process. Now, that has always been the case, and I'm sure that Neil Wilson can confirm that that is the situation in our constitution.
Okay, I mean, look, I don't disagree with that point that you've just made. The way the process and decision making is made hasn't changed. I cannot see why you're saying what you say.
I'm saying it, Chair, because on this agenda, which is the October agenda for a decision to be made in sort of December, January by full council about our budget, we would normally in the October meeting have a document that gives us the financial breakdown of what's been happening over the last 12 months within neighbourhood services responsibilities and how we move forward into next year's budget. We would then send our recommendations and any queries we may have on it to the Finance and Policy Committee for resolution. And then ultimately it goes to council for us all to hold our hand up to agree the budget for next financial year. So why are we not seeing a report on this agenda for the policy and financial arrangements for this committee?
Okay, thank you, Marjorie. I'll hand over to, I do have one councillor interested in speaking. I will allow the councillor to say, and then I'll hand over to Tony Hanson. So, Councillor Cassidy.
Thanks, Chair. I just really wanted to move a motion that we move on to the key decisions as we're discussing stuff that's not on the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. I've also got Councillor Young. Councillor Young.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sorry, my system hasn't updated, so I'm still back in the old system, so I got a bit confused. I think there's a lot of things to digest there, and I think Marjorie's made some interesting points. But I think the other point that I would raise is that if things are going to finance and policy, is the midterm financial statement something that we can refer to in this instance, and is that what's happening? I do take the point though that if there are kind of things that are being sent to finance and policy and have been over the COVID period, then there maybe or should be rather sent to neighbourhoods. But I think in this instance, I think if there's stuff in the MTFS that does concern neighbourhoods, then that's maybe a good reference point at this stage.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Okay, we've got Councillor Little. Sue.
Good morning. As some of you might know, be aware that allotments have now come over to adult and community-based services. I'm more than happy to take this over to my committee. The committee's already set out for next week, but we'll bring it up as soon as we can and to our next committee. And I'd like to second Tom, because this is no longer under, the running of allotments is no longer under neighbourhood, so I think we should move on to the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Can I raise an objection to that, Chair? I'm not talking about the allotments.
Marjorie, just one second. We've got one person wanting to come in. We'll come back to you if you wish. So, Tony Hanson.
Yeah, just to confirm that constitutionally that.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Just to confirm that constitutionally, it still sits within neighbourhood services. So whilst the service may have moved departments, it can't move committees. It sits with neighbourhood services committee. So anything would have to come through that. And as I said, the matter's already been dealt with, and I think it's been agreed by the chair that we move on. So I would suggest, Chair, that we move on to the reports that have been presented.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, we've got three key decisions to be made. I think it's important that we move on. So I really don't want to be sitting here debating this, that, and the other, because we do have important decisions to be made. So while I respect councillors which have a lot they want to say on these different points that have been discussed already, I, as chair, I'm going to say we're moving on to point 5. Okay.
Chair,
so,
you said you would come back to me.
Yes, if it is relating to point 5.
Are you qualifying? No, it isn't. It's about 4.1, which is on our agenda.
Yes, and it reads no items. So
I've asked a question of Neil Wilson. I'm sorry, Chair, but I've asked a question of Neil Wilson to confirm the position from the Constitution about policy committees and the financial arrangements ready for the budget.
Chair, can I come in? I proposed the motion to move on. Councillor Little seconded it. Can we move on, please?
Yeah. Okay.
Can we have a vote, please?
I don't think there's any requirement for a vote. It's been proposed and seconded, and
so I'd like to vote on it, please.
I don't think is there a requirement for a vote on this. I'm not 100% sure on this, so I'll have to.
There's been a motion moved and seconded. It needs a vote.
The motion is to move on the minutes
Yeah.
of the agenda.
And I'm saying not, so I'd like a vote, please.
Okay, we'll have a vote then. So is there any dissent?
That's not a vote, Chair. I'd like a recorded vote.
Okay, I'm asking, is there any dissent? Clearly there is dissent, so we will go to a vote. That's the process we've been taking for the last few months, Marjorie, and you are fully aware of that.
Yeah, well,
so we will have a vote. I'll hand over to Denise Mimpany to decide whether we should move on. Yeah, the vote is relating to a motion forwarded and seconded, forwarded by Councillor Little and seconded by Councillor Cassidy, that we move on to item 5
actually the other way around,
of the agenda. Chair. The other way around. Sorry, that's right. That's right. Okay, so can everybody please put their hands down and their microphones off, and then we'll hand over to Denise Mimpany for a recorded vote.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Richardson on behalf of Stephen Akers-Belcher.
You've lost me. What we voting for?
For, against or abstain?
I'm voting for Marjorie.
The vote that we're taking at the moment, Councillor Richardson, is in relation to the motion proposed by Councillor Cassidy.
Against.
Councillor Cassidy.
For.
Councillor Howson.
Against.
Councillor James.
Against.
Councillor Little.
For.
Councillor Prince.
Against.
Councillor Tennant.
For.
That's 4-3 against, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Marjorie, do you want to raise your point on 4?
Yes, I'd like an answer from Neil Wilson about the Constitution, please.
Okay, with regard to that, can I hand over to Neil Wilson, please?
Thank you, Councillor. I think you raised a few points. First of all, about essentially a democratic deficit, which I don't believe exists. In terms of remote meetings, I think this is the 49th remote meeting that we've had, more than any other in the Tees Valley. Not a great deal different to what there would have been ordinarily had COVID not happened. So there's certainly been numerous opportunities to raise issues. Now, in respect of this particular agenda item, there is no point on the agenda. The agenda has been published, notice has been given. I'm not aware that anyone has raised anything with the chair that should be on or that would like to be included on the agenda. An opportunity has been there to do that. In terms of the budget policy framework and the mechanism for that, you are correct, that hasn't changed. But there simply isn't an item on this agenda, and none has been requested. So given that the number of meetings that has been had, the opportunity and the notice has been given, I'm sorry, Councillor, I'm a little confused at the question, really.
Mm.
Would you like me to clarify, Chair?
Councillor James, if you go through the chair, please. First of all, I'd like to raise and actually second what Neil Wilson has just pointed out. We have had far more meetings as a council, right, compared to most councils of the Tees Valley. So again, I reiterate what Neil Wilson just said. We've actually had a more democratic process than other councils in the Tees Valley. But, you know, if you want to raise any more points and waste everybody's time, Marjorie, carry on.
I'm not wasting anybody's time, Chair. I'd just like
believe
an
you
answer.
are. I believe you are.
Well, can I just say I haven't finished speaking, Chair? That's what you said to me. So please don't butt in. Okay. Right? The fact of the matter is, the question I have asked has still not been answered. The fact is that no, it has not. In the October round of meetings, the finance and policy arrangements for each policy committee would normally come before members. So I am questioning why, under Budget and Policy Framework 4.1, there are no items. Okay. I don't sit on other policy committees. I sit on this one. So I want to know where the information is that will result in the MTFS being put to council in December.
Okay, Marjorie, I'll hand over to Tony Hanson.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor James is correct. Normally, we would bring updates through the Neighbourhood Services Committee and the relevant policy committees in October time. Obviously, with the nature of the global pandemic that we're in at the moment, unfortunately, we're not in a position whereby we can put that into position at the moment. A lot of the reporting has gone through finance and policy previously, but in terms of any impact on this committee, then at a point whereby we are able to bring any potential changes, anything through this committee, then we will do that. But as I said, at the moment, obviously officers have been working on dealing with the reason for the last 6 months, and that's kind of the position which is what we're in. But as I said, at a point whereby we are able to bring that report through, it will follow due process and come through this committee and into F&P. But at the moment, we aren't in that position to do so.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tony. I think the question has been answered, and we really should be moving on to key decisions that, at the end of the day, we are around as councillors to make these decisions, and we should be doing that now. So with respect to all councillors, we will now move on to item 5.1, public space protection orders, PSPOs, and hand over to Sylvia Pinckney.
Thank you, Chair. This item is in relation to public space protection orders. At your meeting in July, we brought a report about public space protection orders, and it was agreed to consult in relation to the existing orders. And this report is in relation to the existing orders that are in place. Those orders are due to expire later this month, and therefore we have carried out consultation, as was agreed by the committee in July. The consultation related to the existing orders in place, and full details of those orders are given in 3.7 of the report. It details there that they relate primarily to alligates and to matters in relation to dog control. They do include some PSPOs that were not due for renewal in October, but it was felt it was better that they all ran on the same cycle. We've went out for consultation in relation to this matter, and we received no responses in relation to consultation on the existing orders. It's therefore recommended that the existing orders are replaced, and that the matter would then be that they would be replaced now and would take effect immediately. In relation to the report in July, also covered looking at existing PSPOs, and a further report will be brought to committee in December in relation to that matter.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Are there any councillors wanting to raise any points on this item? Councillor Prince.
Thank you, Chair. I asked in July about the gating orders, because one of the issues on my ward is that residents are upset with other people not locking the gates, and I asked if there was any sort of thing we could do about that, and I'm not sure that I got an answer. Is there anything that we can do about asking residents to ensure that they're locking the gates?
Sorry, Councillor Prince, a response was provided. I'm sorry if you've not received that, but the answer to that is no, there is no action we can take. There is signage in place, but there is no formal action we can take.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Little.
Mindful on the dogs, how many dogs you can actually walk, as I've pointed out last time when this came to committee a couple of years ago. People do walk, so you can only walk with 4 dogs at one time. And I know plenty of dog walkers who walk with a lot more than 4 dogs. And basically, just that really is just how can we enforce to only walk 4 dogs when we haven't got eyes everywhere.
Thank you, Councillor Little. Sylvia?
Yeah, as you say, that the same aspect goes for all the orders that we've got in place. It would have to be that the matter was observed by one of our staff, or that we were given good information from members of the public that we would be able to take the matter forward. But if the staff are aware of people walking more than 4 dogs, and we're advised of that, then we would follow up on it.
Thank you.
Can I come back, Chair, please? It's just that we have plenty of professional dog walkers, and they don't always go where we can see them. I was talking to one the other day, and she said she walked 14 dogs at a time. Now, I was quite alarmed by that, so obviously I'm not using her. But I just thought 14 dogs. Are these professional dog walkers getting these conditions that you can only walk 4 dogs at a time?
Okay, Sylvia.
Yeah, we can look at putting some more publicity out in relation to that matter specifically. That would ensure that everybody is aware of what the requirements are in relation to the PSPOs.
Thank you, Sylvia. We've got Councillor Cassidy.
But I think Marjorie was before me, Chair.
Oh, I do apologise. Yeah, so Marjorie.
I wanted to ask a question around 4.1 and 4.2 of the agenda. And the fact is, have we received, since this was published as a report, any returns on our consultation process? Because at the moment, the only response we've got is that we haven't received anything, but it says that that would be updated today. So is that still the same situation? And if so, then I would question how we publicised that consultation. Because normally we would, on this kind of subject matter, get responses in both directions, which would then be presented to the committee. So I'm not convinced, Chair, that we're actually on solid ground here. We really do need consultation responses. So have we had any?
The answer is we've not had any consultation responses. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact process that we went through in relation to consultation. I can find out and report that back to members, but we have consulted as we would normally consult on these matters.
Okay, well, we'll refer back to members about the consultation process. Councillor Cassidy.
Yeah, I was wondering if Sylvia can expand on what Councillor Prince asked about the gates. Do you mean as in the signs are already in place, or are the signs going to be put in place?
Yeah, I understand that there are signs already in place. These orders have been in for a number of years. They were moved over to public space protection orders from other from other legislation. So they've been in place for a number of years, and signage is already in place. This is not something new. This is just to keep in place what we've already got, but the signage is in place.
Can I come back on that, Chair?
Yep.
Yeah, having lived in the Burn Valley ward, I can tell you now there's no signage in place on the streets of Elwick Road and the streets relating to that. So can we maybe have a look at that, please?
Yes, we'll look at that.
Thank you, Councillor Cassidy. I can't see any other councillors. Yes, okay, I've just got one. Councillor Prince.
Thanks, Chair. To follow on from that, is there any chance that, I mean, I know that you guys have got a lot of work on and I'm asking you to do more, but is there any chance that we could maybe have a look at them town-wide to check that signage is in place, and maybe even send out letters to residents if it's appropriate, just reminding them that they should be locking the gates? It might make some residents feel a bit safer.
Sylvia?
Yeah, obviously, it won't be something we can do very quickly, but we can have an ongoing element for people to let us know when there is signage missing, and to see what we can do in relation to drawing people's attention to the fact that the gates can be closed.
Thank you. And we've got Councillor Little. Sue.
It could prevent, if we did have the signage in place, it could prevent fly tipping in the back streets, I know, which is a massive issue, especially where it is a gated area, because people don't think that you score down there, but obviously residents do go down there and they do report fly tipping.
Yeah, understood. That's fine. Sylvia, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, we've got other work ongoing specifically in relation to fly tipping, so this would fall into that, and that's why it's so important that we renew these on time so that we can formally close the back streets off. If the PSPO is not renewed, then we wouldn't be able to use the alley gates.
Yes, understood. That's the reason why we have this decision today. So if we could move to point 12 as recommendations, that committee approves the renewal of public space protection orders, which are currently in place in Hartlepool. Is there any dissent from councillors? Sue, you've got a hand up. I apologise, I didn't see that. Oh, you haven't. Okay,
That,
sorry.
no, I haven't. That was a mistake. Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. So I take it that that's approved by members. Thank you. We can move now to 5.2, neighbourhood services, pothole and challenge fund schemes. I'll move on to Kieran.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. This report seeks to spend an additional pot of money that we've been awarded to accelerate the programme of highways resurfacing works, totalling £925,000. Section 3 outlines the background of the report. The Council has a 5-year rolling programme, which was approved by this committee in March 2020. This report is in addition to the 5-year programme and is a breakdown of the Council receiving its share of investment, totalling £1.7 billion nationally. Year 1 of the existing programme is already well underway and a number of resurfacing schemes have already been complete. In line with the criteria for setting the 5-year programme, schemes proposed within this report have been selected using condition data, highway inspectors' reports and customers' complaints. The proposals of the proposed programmes are outlined in Appendix 1. Construction methods will reflect the condition of the highway and its traffic volumes. This is an additional grant and it's seen the number of schemes that were on year 2 of the consented programme accelerated. These amendments to our 5-year programme will be reflected in the programme refresh that will be brought back before committee in 2021. As with any construction scheme, until a spade is in the ground, there is a risk of uncertainties which could lead to cost increases. Any cost increase will be rebalanced through the refresh of the 5-year programme. The total cost of the accelerated programme is £925,000, and this programme is funded by external grant, which is in addition to the approved programme. Any legal orders required as necessary to facilitate road closures will be put in place prior to works commencing. This programme has been developed using the same methodology as the 5-year programme, and as such, customer service and member complaints have been considered accordingly. Following completion of the work, the Council's asset register will be updated accordingly. It is therefore recommended that members approve the proposed programme, and it is also recommended that any changes to the programme be delegated to the Director of Neighbourhoods and Regulatory Services and in consultation with the Chair of this committee. The reason for the recommendation is to allow the proposed grant to be utilised to the maximum benefit and to allow works to progress without delay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Kieran. One councillor interested, Councillor Prince.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question. You might know that I'm not a driver, so roads don't mean very much to me. When it says type and there's Master Flex, Full RC and DBM, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Kieran.
Thank you, Councillor. That refers to the material that the road's made up with. This is addressed in section 4 of the report. So where full reconstruction is where we basically dig everything out. Master Flex is used in more heavy used areas. Dense bitumen macadam (DBM) is used on lighter trafficked roads. So it's a material that we use to put down.
Okay, thanks for that, Kieran. I can't see any other councillors interested in coming in, so we'll just move straight on to the recommendations. So, is there any dissent to the recommendations? Doesn't appear to be the case. Any dissent to 11.2, second recommendation? Okay, that doesn't seem to be against, so that's been approved by councillors. We'll move now to 6.1, Trading Standard Service Plan for 2020 and 2021. Hand over to Sylvia.
Thank you, Chair. As you say, this is the Trading Standard Service Plan for 2020 to 2021, which is an item that is brought to the committee each year. The service plan takes the form that it normally follows, laying out details in relation to our performance in the previous year and reflects our changes in relation to service demand. The plan gives details in relation to the our priorities and lists areas in high priorities, which include scams and cons and product safety. In medium priority, it covers elements like tackling underage sales and counterfeit and illicit tobacco. And in low priority covers areas of loan sharks and weights and measures. These are based on the amount of resource that would go into to those areas of work. The plan also points out that we need to continually respond to change, and in particular this year there have been substantial changes with further growth in relation to internet sales. The team need to continue to monitor the virtual high street. The other areas that I would point in 5.5 of the report, where we talk about counterfeit goods and how social media is a main element that is used now for the sale in relation to counterfeit and illicit goods. One of the main areas that we concentrate on is protection of the vulnerable. We've increased the number of no-call call zones that we've had since 2016, where we had 7. We've now got 50, and we've issued over 11,000 say no to the doorstep stickers. The service has been working closely with other departments and external organisations, banks and post offices to try to ensure that rogue traders aren't able to take a member of the public to a bank and then make a cash withdrawal. And that system has been working very well and alerts the police or ourselves if a resident unexpectedly turns up to try to make a large withdrawal from their account. Significant work has also been undertaken in relation to mail order and telephone scams, with free call blockers being supplied to the most vulnerable households. And also trading standards continue to install covert CCTV to victims in their home where they've been subject to rogue traders. We have carried out some underage sales work in 2019-20, visiting 17 premises, and full details of that are given in point 6.3 of the plan. COVID has had an effect, obviously, in relation to this service, as we've got a shared primary role of engaging with businesses and providing COVID advice during the current pandemic. And obviously there is a consistently changing environment has got uniquely significant changes in the team, and it's obviously having an impact in relation to some areas of service delivery. I'm happy for members to answer any questions that members may have in relation to the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. We do have 2 councillors. So the first one is Councillor Little. Sue Little.
Thank you, Chair. When you're going through the like from 5.1, you've got your high, medium and low priorities. You look at the low priorities and you've got loan sharks. That is absolutely devastating to see that's in a low priority. I would have thought that would be in a high priority because of people are going to be going more to loan sharks and thinking, well, nobody's going to care about us. But that should be in high on it. Really, shouldn't it?
Thank you, Sue. I think Sylvia, you want to respond to that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Loan sharks are dealt with by the National Illegal Money Lending Team. So the amount of resource that we put in, and I was saying that the high, medium, low in relation to the amount of resource that we put in. So the amount of resource that we put in relation to loan sharks is very low, because there is a national team that deals with that. If they want us to get involved in a specific case, they will then ask us to do that. But the national team do the majority of the work now in relation to loan sharks, which is why it sits, because it's a resource matrix and the amount of resource we put in is low in relation to that. That's not to say that it's not an area that we will get involved with and continue to do so, but only if we're asked to by the illegal money lending team. Otherwise, it's where we would direct people to them.
Can I come back, Chair?
Absolutely, Sue, yes.
It just didn't, when you were reading it, it just didn't look like that. It just thought, oh my God, we're not prioritising loan sharks when the fair loan scheme and everything's finishing, people are losing their jobs and Christmas is coming. And I just thought, oh my God, this needs to be more of a, but thank you for your explanation. So do we signpost people to them people? Like, to the national team?
I think so. I think that's a very, very good point. I think it might be pertinent for maybe Sylvia or somebody in Sylvia's team to give all councillors that signpost that councillors can pass on to members of the public about the national money laundering. Yeah.
Yeah, we can provide that.
Are you happy with that, Sue? Brilliant. That's great. So we've got Councillor James.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just endorse what's just happened over loan sharks, because it is something that's very prevalent in Hartlepool, because we are such a deprived community as a whole. And it may have been helpful that in future reports, maybe it should just give a paragraph that says the national programme picks up most of this work, we support where necessary. Because to give a report out into the public, I think Sue's absolutely right, that indicates it's a low priority for us, just tells people that are caught by loan sharks already that we're not really interested. So, which is not actually the case. So I think that we maybe need to look at how we report this in the future and get a paragraph in there that says exactly who is responsible, provide the information and make sure that it is clear that we take it very seriously. The question that I wanted to actually ask, Chair, was around scam phone calls. Now, I know that there is a section in the report. I mean, from a personal point of view, the earliest I've ever taken such a call is at 5:30 a.m. The latest I've taken one is at 11:45 midnight. So they don't have any rhyme or reason as to what time of day they actually launch in. I've had as many as 12 between 8 a.m. and 12 o'clock noon. Because they just target. Once they've got a phone number, they just keep going. And it's just absolutely ridiculous, because what people also don't seem to realise is that they sound very plausible. And normally it is a company that maybe you do have a contact with, or a bank that you have a contact with. But as soon as you press number one, which is what they try to tell you to do, press number one to speak to somebody at your bank or whatever company it might be, you're now paying for the call as well. So there is I absolutely guarantee that there are huge numbers in Hartlepool of our elderly and vulnerable that fall for these scams periodically. And it just doesn't seem to stop. The law says that you're not supposed to have what they call silent calls anymore. You're not supposed to, and yet they do. You know, so how can residents protect themselves against this? Because I think that there is a huge number that are very vulnerable.
Thank you, Marjorie. And yes, I agree with your concerns that people are probably more susceptible now to scams such as the one you've just described than possibly have been in the past. So, Sylvia, could you give a response to that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, there is a national scams hub where all scams are reported to and dealt with nationally, and we are advised when there are certain scams that are, if you like, doing the rounds, and we will put publicity out in relation to that. In relation to individuals, it is possible to get calls blocked, and we can provide members with the details of that. But what we've put in the report is in some instances where people have specifically been targeted, we have provided them with call blocking devices, which means that it is not possible for those calls to get through. And that they are freely available, but we have provided them with the help of adult services to people that have been particularly vulnerable and we are aware have already been targeted by scams. So that there are a number of ways that you can do it, both in relation to us highlighting the fact that certain scams are going around, so people are aware of that, to get their numbers blocked, and to buy call blocking devices specifically that block the numbers to that phone.
Thank you, Sylvia. I think that's a good approach. But I think also as well, just said before, if all councillors, not just this committee, but all councillors are given those details of the national money lending team and other scam related departments, then we are able, as local councillors, if we do get in touch with somebody who has been a victim, we can then signpost them directly to that team who can deal with that issue as effectively as possible. We've got Councillor Howson, who interested to come in.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of comments on loan sharks, really, and I want to support what Councillor Little and Councillor James have said. But also it would be good to see a report back on the number of prosecutions for loan sharks. Also as well, it takes many different shapes and forms, vulnerable people being preyed on. And can we have some assurances that actually within the authority, officers who are working with particular people have training to identify people who may be at risk from loan sharks or experiencing that, because it gets hidden in lots of different ways. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Howson, and your information is very much appreciated. If there's nothing else that councillors want to raise on this particular point, I think it'd be pertinent to move to the recommendations of 8.1, that the Neighbourhood Services Committee approve the trading service plan, trading standard service plan for 2020 and 2021. Is there any dissent? Just to be the case. Okay, thank you very much, councillors. We'll go back to the agenda. Item for information, there's no items. Any other business? No business has been set to be, which I consider urgent. So thank you very much, councillors. And the date of the next meeting will be the 1st of December this year at 10 o'clock. I look forward to seeing you all then. Bye.